Now, sustainability is a term which is very loosely used these days, right? And all your clothes, cosmetics, everything is sustainable because it sells. So even now, people think that this is not possible. That people that carbon emissions are increasing because of this animal cultivation. The entire manual scavenging that happens in the Indian railways or in the entire country. Yeah, throughout the country. Majorly, it's done by a specific caste.
Hello, and welcome to Sephra's Green and Greener show. I am Sephra, and today's guest is someone very special. It's Atrayee Das Chaudhary, who is currently a senior sustainability consultant with CRISIL. She's done her master's in development studies from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and now has over 7 years of work experience in the space of sustainability, community building, and social inclusion. Today's conversation has been super easygoing and flowing, not only because Atrayee and I have been colleagues for around 2 years, but we've also known each other for over 5 years now. Some of the topics we touched upon are extremely educational and interesting. We've started off with what a sustainability consultant even is and what do they do. We've touched upon what does sustainability look like at the grassroots level, and what role does caste have to play in such occupations. We've also touched upon some of Atrayee's extremely interesting stories of her experiences with some of the biggest corporations and institutions in the world. So stay tuned, because these kinds of anecdotes and stories are not easily available online, and you'll get to learn a lot here. So let's begin today's episode right now. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sephra's Green and Greener show, where we learn simpler steps to being more sustainable. Today, I am joined by Atrayee, who is a sustainability consultant at CRISIL, and we're here and very excited to hear all about her life. Before we get to her, a quick note about me. I am your host of this podcast, Sephra Abraham. I am also the founder of Green India, which is a one-stop vegan shop. Over to you, Atrayee. I hope you're happy to be here. We are so excited to have you here.
Yeah, hi everyone, and I've been following Green for a while now, and it's actually something like you told me about Green when veganism was still like people didn't know what to do. What was it? And I remember we were in Bangalore for one of our projects, and we were out drinking and
Yeah, 2019. This was like pre-pandemic. Oh my God.
and we had to order some food, and I remember Martin had ordered some paneer tikka, and then you were very specific about how you did not want milk solids, and you were getting so critical about it. The waiter was like, "What is she even saying?" So I remember you asking you after that why are you so like crazy about this thing?
Yeah.
And you explained the entire thing because we used to live together during all those travels and everything. So yeah, I mean that's how I obviously knew about it, but a lot about it I had come to know from you, the nitty gritties of it. So at that time I was big on my meat.
Yeah.
So like I used to eat so much that even the French called me that Atrayee, you are more French than us in terms of eating meat. They used to have paneer and all of that, and I would just be like beef and
Fish and meat.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited, and there has been a lot of change in terms of outlook, ideology, everything that has happened thanks to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So growing older in life.
Exactly. That's exactly why I wanted your words of wisdom to reflect on today's episode. So, just a quick context for everyone listening that, Atrayee and I have actually worked together as consultants at the French firm that we were talking about. And today, here she is, a senior consultant, in fact, with CRISIL. So, Atrayee, let's get into, your journey, okay? So why don't you take me through what did you do at college? What did you study that got you into the field of sustainability to begin with?
Yeah. So it's been a long and quite a intentional journey for me. I'm not here by chance. So it's quite a intentional move. I was volunteer from the time I was in school. I started volunteering for all these different social service activities like Rotary International and all of that. And after that, I did a graduation in political science. So I was always interested in the social sector and what is wrong with the system and why are we here? Systemic change. How can we bring in change and all of that? And that's when I started doing a lot of social work. I started working with slum kids. I started teaching them dancing.
So wait, how old were you when you started this?
I was in my so this vocational education part started when I was in college. So that must have been what 1920 something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a thing for dancing always, and we started teaching hip.
She's an amazing dancer, by the way. We're going to link her page here so everyone can check that out.
Thanks. So yeah, so I started teaching hip hop to these kids in Calcutta in a slum. So that was my first inspiration, and the kind of happiness I got out of that was like addictive. And after that, I decided that why not study this? So I decided to do a master's in development studies from TISS. And for me, that was a turning point to a lot of things because, education is one point where it really opens your eyes to a lot of things, which you may not be knowing otherwise. So I did that. And while doing that, I did a lot of internships and a lot of field work. I came to Mumbai for the first time.
Yeah.
I did 2 internships. One was with a policy think tank where I was just like sitting in a laptop and doing that. And then I wanted some, hardcore field knowledge.
That's just to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, that's when I used to go to your Mount Khurka slums and I used to sit and eat and live with them for some time. That's how I got interested in the whole social sector. After which I graduated and got my first job with the government of Andhra Pradesh. So I worked there because I wanted to get a bird's eye view of how the system works.
Right.
After which I got interested into consulting and sustainability consulting because I was working with the government in their social sector, health and education. So after that, I started into the consulting field where I started supporting government, corporations, consulting companies alike in different areas of sustainability. Now, sustainability is a term which is very loosely used these days, right? And everybody from the prime minister, fashion influencer, they use it.
Yeah.
All your clothes, cosmetics, everything is sustainable because it's self. But sustainability has bigger meaning and it has larger connotations than that. So anyway, coming back, so I started working with these companies, corporations, etc. So what essentially I did was I helped these different stakeholders like government or companies or so government or companies or non-governmental organization develop a strategy, develop a way for building like a plan to or a project that can be in the health sector or in education or in sanitation, anything which creates an impact in the lives of people and helps them come out of bigger social and economic problems such as inequality, poverty, and so on. So that was the beginning of my journey into sustainability. And I think the biggest professional milestone came when I started working with the same company where we were both working with a French consulting company. And the business model was essentially they were helping larger corporations grow their strategies for responsible businesses, right? Sustainable businesses, as they called it. So basically what they did was they helped these companies because every company has a financial responsibility and they also have a sustainability responsibility, right? So in India, it's in the form of the Corporate Social Responsibility Act.
Correct. Yeah.
And outside, it's also the CSR thing is there abroad, but it's also there in the form of sustainable businesses. So we helped these conventionally large corporations grow an alternative channel of developing or expanding their businesses in places that could help low-income consumers as well as low-income sellers.
Right.
And so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how this journey began, and it has taken me to different places, but yeah.
Definitely. I have to ask you if there is, from our time together, or of course all the other projects that you've worked on, any one incident that comes to mind that stands out to you till today, that if someone asks you what was the weirdest thing or the funniest thing you did, like you can immediately remember it. How hard was that since?
So we were working in this very big project for Bill Gates, and it was to finish Open Defecation in Iran. Huge target, huge goal, and we were his soldiers in India.
Yeah.
Me along with two random French boys. Okay, and we were stuck in Pune for a month. So 6 months. We were living in a service apartment, and we used to every day morning we used to wake up, have breakfast, go to the slums, and understand what are their challenges in terms of sanitation and how we could solve those problems, right? So what happened was, essentially, just to give a brief context, Bill Gates and a very big perfume flavor manufacturing company, Firmenich, they come up with the technology to fight malodor in community toilets in slums.
Yeah.
The impact of this was supposed to be in terms of more usage of community toilet, as a result of which the problem of open defecation will be reduced.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it was based on the hypothesis that the reason why people don't use community toilet is because there's problem of cleanliness
And smell.
and
Yeah.
smell, right? So they came up with the product. We did some product testing after doing some field research studies and whatever. And we put up those products, and we did a lot of awareness building with the communities to encourage them to use the toilets. But even after 1-2 months of very strong intervention, they were still going out of the field, okay? And then one of the reasons what we found out was that the cleaning process was not as rigorous, because the cleaners of the toilet, or the cadres who were cleaning the toilet, the caretakers, yes, that was the term, they were not trained enough. So we, after writing a lot of reports and data collection, all that, a new scope of work that came onto our plate was we had to train them in terms of how to clean the toilet. And they were told us the best way to do is you have to show them how to clean the toilets.
God.
The next morning, me and two random French colleagues, we were there in the community toilets with brooms and Harpic and whatnot. And we've literally cleaned toilets. Like, we still have pictures where one full day we showed them, like, we went and we did the work, It's very easy to say, sanitation is a big problem. People are not.
Yeah. But what are you doing about it?
What are you?
What can you do?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as consultants, as the privileged section of the country, we just write reports and do research because we have the intellectual power and all of that. But here, we really had to do the grind, and we had to go and clean the toilets. It was really dirty, and I remember it because you know how in community toilets you remember there are a separate section for females and males.
Of course.
And the guys were doing the male part, but I realized that I had to go in to do that part also.
Oh my God. So you got that.
Yeah,
That's
that was quite a moment for me, because first of all, you get a shock that, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I mean, ghar pe you might just do it, but
Yeah.
go and do somebody else's toilet is only quite.
And it's a community toilet.
Community toilet.
Used by like hundreds, if not thousands of people a day. Like, it's a lot.
I mean, no gender bias, but then the men toilet was way worse than the female part, and it was quite a task. But it was I would say it was really a moment of truth for me, to really know what those caretakers were doing, and they are the most underpaid, and the most of them were from backward castes, and they had that whole caste burden. Then they had the class burden, and some of them were not physically fit also. So I mean, it was definitely one.
Yeah, it stood out. It teaches you and makes you like realize that, oh my God, we are so lucky to be able to do what we do. And there are people who are just they don't have that privilege.
Yeah,
or that even the lack of opportunity.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist because of you rightly mentioned the caste class, and this is such a shout in the face of people who keep claiming that caste and class does not exist. Like, I mean,
I'm just fighting for reservation and merit and all of that.
Seriously, without looking at, what is happening on ground. Like,
It's just so easy to say that my son didn't get through IIT because, he has the marks, but somebody from a backward caste just got it. The problem is actually much bigger than that. A lot more bigger than that. And sitting in a proper city and with proper education, it's very hard for you to actually imagine even the kind of problems that somebody, in a village or even in a city slums.
yeah, that's true. The urban poor also go through a lot. The community toilets there also are not in a really bad condition.
Yes.
Yeah. Getting back to, the caste-based occupations that we were just talking about, you also mentioned something interesting about a recent study that you read about the railway employees.
Yeah, so in India we have a monopoly of the Indian Railways and everything.
Yeah.
And we still do not have a bio toilet or smart toilet in our trains, most of our trains. Although the government is working towards that, but largely it is still the usual toilets that we have in the train. And the entire manual scavenging that happens in the Indian Railways or in the
Entire country.
yeah, throughout the country, majorly it's done by a specific caste. And that has been the case historically. There has not been any changes, and there are a lot of there are not only is it a difficult profession is just an understatement. It is also a health hazard.
It is.
Right. Even with the kind of equipments and everything that the government is providing them, there is hardly the kind of protection that they get is very less.
Yeah.
And it is still done. So the whole problem of caste-based occupation is still very much relevant in our country, no matter what we see and however much we've come forward. And so we still, suffering from that problem.
Very true. And I mean, to carry on that study, it's, of course, you're talking about sewage, right? They're cleaning and they have to deal with that. What I also have read in a similar report was they have to also discard of dead bodies of humans and animals, because we do still face a lot of deaths, right? Because of how our railways are built or how unsafe they are. We do have deaths in that. We have deaths of random animals that are trying to cross the railway or they just die. And someone has to clean that, and it's all done by the lowest caste that our country has. And it's so sad that people are not talking about this enough, or people don't know, or they choose to ignore such an important topic.
They don't unless and until you are in this business, you're in a sustainability profession, or you've studied it. People, the awareness is very low. I mean, you go ask them about the share market trends, they'll be able to give you more insights.
Yeah, like finance bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Or tech bro. Yeah, says whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't know what can be a possible solution for, at least for the awareness building part of it. Of course, systemically there are a million things that can be done, but for the awareness part, hopefully people are listening in and, they start doing their own research. Of course, you listen to something and you should end up doing your own research. And I hope that this does trigger some, uncomfortable conversations.
Yes.
Anyway, let's move into, Atrayee as a sustainability consultant and your knowledge based off of that, right? So with I think now you've got quite a few years under your belt of, doing this and helping, whether it's businesses or NGOs, make their strategy, as you were saying. So how do you help businesses balance their sustainability goals along with their financial goals? A lot of people sometimes have that misconception that, agar maine sustainability pe concentrate kiya, to I have to just keep spending money. So, what is your take on that as a person working in this field?
Yeah, but I think right now the situation is such that you go to any company's website, you open their LinkedIn page, you do the first what you see is sustainability, right? I mean,
yeah, the big ones, so for sure.
Yeah, I mean, carbon footprint, sustainability, emission reduction. Everybody is using that term, from a chemical industry to footwear industry. Everybody is using that term because It's unfortunate, but I mean, it is selling, right? And people are using it. And for the good or for the bad, it is actually helping because every company has realized, and it has become a global responsibility for each and every company which has a profit motive to do some amount of responsible businesses. Okay, like a large part of their business has to go towards solving social problems, solving environmental problem, and which is why there is this. It's not even new anymore. The whole concept of ESG, environmental, social, and governance, which has come up so big, and it's going to be even bigger. There are going to be ESG audit and everything. The whole investment sector is going to move into, ESG-based investment, which is already happening big. And so, I mean, ESG is something which integrates environmental responsibility, social responsibility, as well as governance, internal governance responsibility. And in this whole thing, the biggest chunk is of the environmental part. Because as you know, most of the production-based companies or FMCG companies, they have a lot of, environmental impact. So very negative, very negative impact in terms of what they are doing. So that's why they are so big on getting into circular economy and all, reducing their carbon footprint. So what we essentially do is we help, or I try to help companies build their strategy. First of all, awareness among what. So companies will have an allocated fund or budget for these responsible businesses. In India, it is in the form of CSR, corporate social responsibility. Now, the government is mandated under the Companies Act, correct, to allocate a certain amount of fund for that of their profit, right? So the companies have an allocated budget for it, but in most cases, they are not aware about what to do with that budget. Until some of them will just do some random, social work, go meet some kids, do health camps and all of that. But now with the, CSR responsibility coming in big, especially for companies with big turnovers, so they want to have a integrated CSR strategy. Okay, so let's say it is an FMCG company like somebody who's producing cleaning products. Okay, so then their focus, they try to focus on a social sector or a environmental sector which is related to their business, because they have networks, they'll have economies of scale. So they will essentially invest into initiatives which are in the sanitation, water, access, and so on. Correct. If it is a finances company, they'll work a lot on financial literacy of women, SHG groups, social self-help groups, how to increase their, financial literacy, how to make them more powerful, and in the process also empower women, because they are the main beneficiary of the scheme, right? Microfinance, exactly, which is, it's no longer a new trend. It's already there, and we see the results of that. So, so we help them develop the strategy, and then we also help them identify implementing agencies. So, the NGOs, the NGO partner, the community-based organizations who are responsible for implementing these initiatives at grassroots level, be it rice, be it water, be it social and environmental, anything. And then once the implementation is done, then the next and the most logical step is to do a monitoring and evaluation of these interventions. So how effective are these interventions? And when we talk about, impact assessment is essentially how we call a financial audit to see the profit and loss, but it's very different from that. Here, the end goal is to understand the social impact, not just in terms of your returns on investment in financial terms, but the social returns on investment, so SROI. So to understand what is your impact in terms of creating social impact, so reduction in poverty, empowerment of women, reduction in infant mortality, maternal mortality, and so on and so forth. Right. So the entire project cycle of designing a socially relevant project for the company, then helping them execute that, and then monitoring and impacting and assessing the impact of the project so that course corrections can be done and the project can be, upscaled and so on in the coming years. Got it. So essentially that's the scheme of things. Got it. That was a very, I think, proper way of saying it. So, someone who's coming on here for the first time and has no idea
Like, what do the sustainability teams in these big companies even do? I think you nailed it. Like, you explained it in such a concise manner. So thank you for that. Another question, okay, in the similar field, so to say. So how do sustainability initiatives like the ones you just mentioned benefit not only, the environment or the social groups, but also a company's bottom line? Like, is there a possible link over there? Like,
Absolutely, yeah. You see, the thing that the companies are doing with responsible businesses, or even with CSR. Okay, so I'll give two examples. Sure. So first of all, in terms of, let's say, what do we mean by responsible business? So we were working with a FMCG company which produces so food products. Yeah. Okay. So now usually an FMCG company will have a conventional channel of selling to a master distributor who will sell to a smaller distributor. And then they'll have people selling to the retailers. Correct. Who will sell to consumers. So that's your usual value chain, right? Yeah. Supply chain. So what they do in responsible businesses is they create an alternative distribution channel where they identify the informal sector, so which is quite big in India, developing countries such as ours, which is why we are still one of the hotcake market for these kind of products. So you identify an alternative distribution channel in informal network of distributors. For example, we did with street vendors. Yeah. And then what you do is you train them, you tell them about the product, and you tell them your sales strategy, which conventionally they might not have, or they might have. Okay, you never know, because these guys are also quite skilled from sales, right?
They're like, they're all entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like one way. Like,
Yeah.
they pioneered that before the term
They
became.
just don't have the IIM degrees.
Yeah.
They are quite
Man, we've met so many that could literally, run everyone out of business, man.
Totally.
They were awesome.
So you train them. And so what happens is they will sell your products along with their sabzi or whatever, fruits, whatever they are selling. So they'll also sell this. So for the classic example is the Breadwalas of Mumbai. It's a huge network, and we did a study of 6,000 Breadwalas.
Oh my God. Those were the days.
And 6,000 was just a minuscule in the universe of breadwalas that's there. They are essentially like, for people who don't know, they are essentially like the dabbawalas that we have in Mumbai. And there's huge network of these guys. They are all migrant laborers from different parts of the country. And so this FMCG company essentially tried to capitalize and get that network and create an alternative channel of distribution. Because these guys are going into the houses of people and they're meeting their end consumers on a day-to-day basis. They know them, every day. So they go and they sell the product to them. So the marketing also happens through their word of mouth as people know them. So it's an extraordinary strategy if it can be done. Only thing is, it is very labor intensive in terms of marketing and sales and so on. So the bottom line, how is the bottom line impacted? The bottom line is impacted because you are creating an alternative channel. And it was a foreign FMCG company, so they were suffering from very stiff competition from domestic players.
Of course.
So then you are able to beat your competitors because you're creating a completely alternative channel of sales as well as marketing.
Right.
So definitely your bottom line is impacted, and you are also serving your social goals because you are investing through the funds which you've allocated for your social responsibility side of things. So I mean that's definitely one very good example of how companies can impact
if they really take the time and effort to create these strategies or to employ people who can do that for them, right? So yeah, it is very important to have people who are doing that for you in your organization. So that's awesome. You also shared a success story, so thank you for that. What are some of the metrics a business should track to know if they are on the path to sustainability or if they are being sustainable or not?
So, I mean, the classic example are your UN SDG goals, like United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, global standard, which is nothing but we had the million development goals, and now we have the UN SDG goals. Yeah, and every government, every company, every NGO is tracking those goals to the T. We have micro, sub-micro goals, which we have for them. So, I mean, just to give you an example, So there are these very big macro goals like poverty, ending inequality. And then there are these, very specific goals in terms of health, in terms of education, gender equality. So in terms of health, for example, reducing anemia levels in women, reducing infant mortality, maternal mortality. In terms of education, it could be literacy, skill development, percentage of youth skilled in a country, unemployment levels, dropout levels in schools. Water and sanitation could be access to water in the toilets, access to toilets. Access to clean drinking water. So these are some of the bigger goals, depending on the sector in which the company is focusing. That we can be tracking.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I mean, easy as in like at least they know, okay, these are the metrics that are already decided by someone else. Now let's see what we can match to fit what box. So I think that's an easy one and makes sense. So coming back to your public sector, because you have worked with the government of Andhra Pradesh and you've worked with private players. So what is the key? I mean, there can't be only one difference. I'm sure there are many. But what are the few differences that come to mind when you compare both your experiences? Like, in terms of achieving that end goal, again, big goal of sustainability.
So see, a government is essentially formed with the whole objective of public good.
Right.
And a corporation is essentially formed with the whole objective of increasing profit, right?
Right.
So there are no hypocrisies in that.
Yeah.
So when a government is implementing a scheme, the objective is much larger. Okay, so they are trying to address a population which is impacted by poverty or inequality or unemployment and so on. And then they'll have multiple schemes to achieve those objectives. Okay, and in those schemes, the government can't do it alone. So they will have a lot of donor agencies, a lot of foreign funding. They'll have a lot of private sector players in the form of CSR and who are implementing on behalf of the government. So they are all. So I would say the private sector is a sub to the government in terms of creating social impact.
Okay.
Because you can't really differentiate them into two compartments. Because if you look at the overall, let's say your objective is creating social impact, okay, and the government has the primary responsibility of ensuring that happens. And whereas a private company, it is not their primary goal, but it is definitely one of their most major goals. Okay, so in terms of initiatives, in terms of money, the scale is very different. Government obviously will have a larger corpus of fund to roll it out, and they also have they also get foreign funding and other kinds of funds through which they are able to do these large scale schemes. They are running all over all the states of the country, right? Whereas a private sector scheme will be like, or a project is concentrated in one specific village or district or city or state, right? So that is very different. However, I feel the good thing about private sector projects are the impact is more tangible. You can see impact more in a better way, because most cases they would do a study, they'll do an impact assessment to see where they went wrong. Is it that they are doing correctly? And they'll take the corrective measures, which in a lot of times the government is not able to do. So, for example, what I am doing right now is we support different state governments or national government in monitoring, in giving them support to monitor and evaluate these schemes that they run. There's a lot of time I was just doing a meeting with one of the chief secretaries of one of the states of this country, planning secretaries, and he was telling that they have huge programs for, on health, huge amount of money from UNICEF and so on. But then he's like, you go to one of our any villages and every, majority of women are suffering from anemia. Most of the kids are stunted and so on. So where is it going wrong? Because I am rolling out all the money I have. But where is that money going? I mean, you go to any of the Anganwadi centers, they are giving those fortified food to women, pregnant women and so on. But why are they still anemic? Because the problem starts at the age when the girl is 15, 16-year-old. So adolescent time se the problem starts, and since they do not have the kind of awareness that they need to have, So they're getting married pehle, they're having kids before they are supposed to have. They do not have any idea about the kind of nutrition that they need to be a mother, right? So just giving some provisions or some benefits is not going to solve a bigger problem. You can just show at the end of your financial year that how much, food packets you've given out. But in terms of seeing what is the impact that has happened, that is a bigger question. So which is something that the private sector is better sometimes at doing because they are very keen about assessing the impact of the kind of schemes that they do. But again, the reach and everything is very targeted and
Yeah, got it. Very, very interesting perspective you got here. So I'm going to segue this discussion into another sort of topic because you're a sustainability consultant and you're in this field. So recently, we came across an IPCC report, right? Obviously, to talking about climate change. And it did mention that one of the biggest contributors of greenhouse gases is your animal agriculture industry and,
Yes.
all the problems that go along with it. So what is your take on that? And yeah, what can we do to sort of mitigate it? It's a very broad question, but
Yeah,
what is your take on that?
I think more than broad, especially in a country like India, it's a political question. I mean, we can all agree to that. And I think this is something that is not a macro change; it's a micro change. It needs to happen at your level first, and then at your family level, and then at your social level, and then at the state, and then at a national, and hopefully at a global level.
Right.
So it's a huge revolution that you're waging, Sephra. Congrats on that. And I mean, like I said, like today also, like in fact today morning also, I was just speaking with this manager I have to work with, and he is also from the northern part of this country, and he was like, "Oh, you are a Bengali? Acha, you are a vegetarian? Did you get? Kaise hua? Did you marry into a vegetarian family?" I said, "No, I'm an outcast. My family, my what do you call it? Premarital family.
Yeah.
Although I still consider that my family.
Of course.
They are hardcore non-vegetarian. The family I'm married into, they are also hardcore non-vegetarian. So I am an outcast. So in my entire wedding, I was the only one who did not have the biryani. I was hugely judged for that. But I took this decision because I was also very big on meat and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
I was so big on that, and I tried everything that you can possibly think of which has meat or flesh in it. But then I was into fitness and so on, and then I read a book, okay, where they were talking about how you produce animals to kill them, basically. It's a very simple fact, and I don't know why it never occurred to me before that after doing so much education and all of that. And then I started thinking about it. I started reading more into it. I watched a lot of things, documentaries, etc., etc. And that's when it hit me that, oh my God, what have I been doing? And of course, and then I started doing it as an experiment to see whether I'm going to miss it or not. Eventually, I did not miss it.
Got it.
So there was never no looking back for me after that.
Okay. And when did this happen? Like, when did you start making the change?
So it happened, I think last year, beginning onwards, when I met a bunch of these guys who were done with the corporate culture, and they said, "I am just leaving my job. I'm going to go to yoga and go and teach yoga." And I was like, "Oh my God, what is he saying?" I mean, I've met these kind of people before, and then he was saying that I'm trying out vegetarianism for some time, and so it's nothing new. I mean, I have met these kind of people, but I think it just happened at a phase of my life when I was also trying to understand things, and I'm already doing this.
Correct.
I'm already in the profession of trying to create an impact, even if that is for 0.01%, right? So I said, okay. And when I read about it, when I came to know about it, and I was just like, oh my God. But the struggle began after that. I mean, the easiest part for me was to become a vegetarian. There was no effort that I needed to.
Yeah.
Afterwards, the convincing that I had to do to my family to make them understand why. Because I don't think so. A lot of people understand. They think it's a lie. Like
Take it
how
very
global,
personally.
yeah, and how global warming for the longest period of time. They said नहीं ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं.
अरे आज इतना ठंडी है आज इतना गर्म है क्या global warming कुछ भी
कुछ नहीं है. They thought it's a joke. So even now people think that this is not possible, that people that carbon emissions are increasing because of this animal cultivation. Correct. So people, I think the main problem, like most of our other social problem, is also in terms of awareness. So even though the IPCC has stated it, which means it's internationally recognized as, it's no longer a lie. It's a fact. It's a fact.
It's not a.
Yeah, it's
not someone's opinion. Someone on the internet.
Correct.
Yeah.
But then you have this huge industry, industry which is sitting, and there are people employed and so on. So you can't just wake up one day and negate all of that also. Right? So we have to come to, some of us can take the route of saying ki from tomorrow onwards, I'm not going to eat it and I'm going to stop it. But then there are bigger problems also, like how does the economy as a whole, or a government as a whole take that call? The government is never going to come up and say that, even in their awareness campaigns, how they give awareness for tobacco, cover of the cigarette. They're never going to do that with on the packet of meat. That isko khane se aapka, your planet.
Though I mean the government, if we really talk about it, they are trying to push no meat, at least in some states.
Yeah,
with the government agenda.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
it's long. I completely agree with you. We are all laughing because recently I was telling someone that majority of India is actually non-vegetarian. 70% of India identifies as non-vegetarian. So India is like, this whole thing of vegetarian country is not even that true. So yeah, if the government is trying to also do this under the table, some random agenda of theirs, is not going to work. I totally agree with you. And oh my God, dairy though, just forget about it.
Exactly.
It's never going to happen. I totally agree with you in that regard.
Yeah, because for them, the alternative to meat is paneer. Like, today you go to eat in any veg restaurant, the first thing I tell them is, do not tell me paneer. Like, start from anything which is not paneer. And then they'll be like, madam, mushroom, yeah, corn. Remember, we used to go to these restaurants and I literally used to tell them what to make. Like, bhaiya, ye bana ke.
Yeah, naya dish. Try karo, acha lagega.
Yeah, so I think even if that, like I said, like going back to IPCC, it's a fact now.
It's a fact, yeah.
It's a lot of work to create that awareness and to tell people to do it, because there's a lot at stake. There's the economy at stake, the politics at stake, and a lot at stake. So I mean,
emotions, you forgot. Yeah. Food is emotional here.
Exactly.
Everywhere, I mean.
Food is emotion also. I mean, I don't know how it is going to happen, but every war till today that has been won, it has happened through popular movements. It will only happen if you do things like people know about it. There are more people talking about it. So I mean, it will be a dream to imagine कि कल से सब vegan हो जाएंगे.
Possible नहीं है सबको. I mean, any rational person would know that. Yeah.
Remember what these guys do in one day in a week they said that we have vegetarian.
Yeah. No meat.
That's a big step.
No meat Monday.
No meat Monday, yeah. अगर वो भी सब लोग करने लग गए. So even that is a big step.
It's a huge step. I can't imagine the whole world doing it, but I would love to think कि ऐसा हो सकता है.
So on the demand side, that's there. Again, on the supply side also, things need to improve, right?
Yeah.
Like non-vegetarians, they have to understand what are they going to eat if their meat stop. Like today, if you go and say, okay, you have to eat jackfruit in place of that, they'll make a joke out of it.
Of course.
Like, I laughed at it in my family.
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying? Biryani with jackfruit. What is she saying? Like, but I'm just like, they are not open to really the idea of even trying it out as a thing. You know, there are people who will just say that biryani without meat is not even veg. Biryani is not even a thing.
पुलाव है भाई, पुलाव ही बुलाना उसको. क्या बिरयानी करके रखा है?
Exactly. It's a tough one.
It is tough. I totally agree. You need that one in every family or every situation. Let's say you need that one trailblazer that is, everyone considers thoda cuckoo. And then actually that is a very big part of awareness building. Like, and people don't realize it, right? For example, another movement, like for example, feminism. Okay. You need that one, crazy, what people brand us, I would say, person to be like, nahi, ye galat hai. Like, don't treat me like this and this. You are branded crazy, and udhar se hi awareness badhta hai. Then tomorrow that auntie or whoever heard you will go and tell the neighbor or whoever, arey, तो बड़ा movement हो गया. And this my child or my neighbor's child said something. I heard it. But that time I was laughing, but when I thought about it, it actually made some sense. And they'll tell someone, बहुत से हो गया.
There was a common problem. It's just that there is a common thought. So there is a common, there's a common problem. But a lot of us, because of the system structure, everything, they were unaware of it. Then there was a discourse on it. People started talking about it, and a lot of things happened nationally, internationally, as a result of which people came to know about it. So the same thing has to happen in this case, like today, people know, acha global warming ho raha, acha global warming kyun, acha gaadi chalta hai, AC chalta hai, uske liye. That's what people know. Global warming is only happening because of the pollution.
Correct.
Any person who's not so woke or aware, they'll think that, right? But to think कि अच्छा वो जो मैं खाना खा रहा हूँ उससे heat बढ़ रहा है, it's a big one. No,
it is definitely.
So I mean, but again, I don't see any other way other than education.
Of course, I think that's step one. And also there are different forms of how you get exposed to this information. So now it's all on us, at this stage, like, okay, do we do this like a podcast? Do we do books? Do we do rallies? Do we do whatever? Like what else? There are different things that work for everybody. So here's hoping that, our episode creates some waves, however small or big, some waves. So Atrayee, you are working with CRISIL right now. So on a separate note, can you tell me a little bit about CRISIL Foundation and what are they up to?
So CRISIL Foundation is essentially the CSR, the corporate social responsibility of CRISIL, and they have very clear specific goals in terms of environmental conservation and financial literacy. These are their two major areas of interest. So some of the activities that they do is in terms of beach cleanups or, cleaning up mangroves and so on. So ecosystems which are impacted due to pollution and civilization. So that's the one thing, and the other thing is financial literacy of women and people, like microfinance and so on. So these are their two focus points, and they are very strong in terms of doing different activities, engaging the employees and common people in these activities to create, again, more awareness and also to make them do things at a ground level.
Got it. So Atrayee, this brings us to, we've covered the hard-hitting topics. Now we have something to end on a lighter note, okay? We wanted to play like a rapid fire with you. It's like a sustainable version. Rapid fire. So cue some tense music in the background, okay? Your first question. Favorite sustainable product? Rapid.
Jute bags.
Love it. Okay. One inspiring book or any piece of content related to sustainability that made you, was like your aha moment.
Yeah, I know this one. That movie on fish cultivation, what is it called?
Seaspiracy. Okay, I answered that for her, but yes, love it.
It's my life.
Yeah. Okay, one material other than plastic that's very harmful to the environment.
Plastic. No, I think textile.
Huh?
I mean,
it is a second biggest.
Yeah, it's a lot of wastage.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Okay, now the last part is I tell you one word, you give me one. The first word that comes to your mind. Okay, nature.
Green.
Okay, family.
Home.
Sustainability.
Let's do it.
Food.
Papri chaat.
Meat.
Never. No.
Wow. Last word, green.
Go green.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Atrayee. It's been so educational and so much fun, connecting with you again and having you on this show. I hope you had a good time.
Absolutely. It was super, super nice. And I just hope that we are able to bring that revolution that we keep talking.
Yes, I love it. We've been talking about it for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
And trust me, we're trying to watch it into parts. Full circle. But thank you so much. And
thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.